Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you to a course in miracles, hardcore course in miracles. In this hardcore course in miracles class, I'm going to talk about the end of sickness. We're going to cover the course in miracles teaching on the end of sickness. We're going to talk about the end of sickness. How do you end sickness? How should you see sickness in every form? We're going to talk about how to end sickness. And we're not just talking about physical illness. We're talking about a lack of peace in any form. Welcome to a hardcore course in miracles on Facebook Live with Earl Purdy. I want to welcome all of you that are coming online live right now, my mighty companions. We're meeting again to go deep and to communicate with each other. Tell me, can you hear it? Breathe. Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it. Know that we are one. Know that we are one. Welcome to a hardcore course in miracles with Earl Purdy. I love you and appreciate you. And understand Christ was born inside of every man. He's waiting for us to choose him as ourselves. All our mighty companions, welcome to Facebook Live, Hardcore Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy, glad to have a chance to do this with you. And you know that love is who I am. Love is who I am. Guess what? You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Yes, we have. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it. Know that we are one. You and I are one. We are one. Welcome to Mola, Elaine, Diana, Billy. Welcome to Hardcore Course in Miracles. Just remember that you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas are going to be hard to believe, and some of the ideas are going to be quite startling. You are not being asked to judge or analyze the ideas at all. It's the use of the ideas that will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. It's the use of the ideas that will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. You have to use the ideas. Guess what? You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Oh yeah. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. Welcome to Facebook Live, Hardcore Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy. I'm so glad to be with my mighty companions. We are one. Oh, we are one. You and I are one. I am you. And you are me. Welcome to Hardcore Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy, and this Course in Miracles class is everyone's welcome, but it's especially geared toward Course in Miracles students who have been studying the Course in Miracles, who have accepted the Course in Miracles as their spiritual path, and they want to take advantage of my 38 years of teaching and sharing the Course in Miracles. So this is not an analytical meeting. This is about, let me hear the Course in Miracles and let me really get what it's saying. We're going to be on a section called The End of Sickness. It's going to be a section called The End of Sickness. That was John Christmas, and you can get his music at johnchristmas.com. You can download that song for free. We're going to be on The End of Sickness on page 187 in the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles. The End of Sickness, page 187, chapter 10, the section 4, The End of Sickness on page 187. Chapter 20. Need to put the little pieces of glass before my eyes. Okay, chapter 10. The chapter called The Idols of Sickness in the Course in Miracles. Section 4, The End of Sickness, and it's on page 187. Please share this video. Please share this video. Take a moment to share it. If you're here on Facebook, just go next to the comments where you make the comments and you see the option to share, and share this live broadcast on your timeline. Share this video on your timeline. I need your help. Please do that. Please do that. Also, be sure to like, if you're on Facebook, like this page and follow this page where you're watching the video so that you can be notified whenever I come online live. So, also I want to ask you to share what page we're on if someone should ask so that I can continue to teach without stopping. And so let's dive into it. I don't want to waste a lot of time. I'm excited to join with you. The end of sickness, the end of sickness, the end of sickness. It starts out by saying all magic is an attempt at reconciling the irreconcilable. All religion is the recognition that the irreconcilable cannot be reconciled. So what does that mean? What does it mean that the irreconcilable cannot be reconciled? What it means is sickness and perfection are irreconcilable. If the Course in Miracles anticipates that you will have questions about what it's saying. So if you don't stop and analyze what it's saying, and you keep on reading forward, then it restates itself in many different ways, so that one of the ways that it restates itself, you will understand what it's saying. Thank you for sharing the videos, those of you who are sharing it. So basically what that's saying is, if God created you perfect, if your Creator created you perfect, you are perfect. You are perfect. The Course in Miracles says perfect means complete. So when the Course in Miracles says that you are perfect, it means that you are complete. It means that there are no missing parts in you. So if God, which is love, created you perfect, you are perfect. If you believe you can be sick, if a person believes that they can be sick, if a person believes that they can be sick, what it means is that person has placed other gods before God. Now, the Course in Miracles is only talking about love or fear. So another way you could read this is, if love created you perfect, you are perfect. If you believe you can be sick, you have placed other loves, other gods before love, before God. So what the Course in Miracles just told me is that if I believe I can be sick, what it means if I have placed other gods before God. But God is not at war with the God of sickness you made. But you are at war with the God of sickness you made. So God is not at war with anything that you've made. God is not at war with anything we've made. We are the ones that are at war with everything we have made. So what is the God of sickness? So what is sickness? The Course in Miracles says that sickness is non-right-mindedness, that sickness is any form of loss of peace. And so the Course in Miracles is saying to us that the God of sickness is the symbol of deciding against God, which means the God of sickness is the symbol of deciding against love. And you are afraid of the God of sickness. You are afraid of sickness because sickness cannot be reconciled with God's will. What does it mean that sickness cannot be reconciled with God's will? Well, the Course in Miracles says God's will for you is perfect happiness. But if you are sick, if you're upset, then you are not experiencing the perfect happiness that God has willed for you. So the Course in Miracles says sickness and fear, which is the same thing. And the Course in Miracles teaches that sickness is just another form of guilt. Then the Course in Miracles says sickness, guilt is the symbol of deciding against God, and you are afraid of the God of sickness because the God of sickness cannot be reconciled with God's will. How can you be perfect, an innocent, unlimited power of God, a limited and unlimited child of God? How can you be an unlimited child of God and have a cold? How can you be an unlimited child of God and be afraid and upset all the time? So the Course in Miracles says whenever you attack sickness, whenever you attack the ego, whenever you attack sickness and the ego and fear, they're all the same things. He says you will make it real to you. So whatever you attack, you just make it more real to you. Whatever you attack, including sickness, including berating yourself for being sick, attacking yourself for being sick, attacking yourself for being less than whole and less than perfect. Every time you attack yourself, judge yourself, criticize yourself, you will make that, whatever that is that you are attacking in yourself, you will make it more real to you. So how do you get past sickness? How do you get past fear? How do you get past the God of sickness, which is fear, which is the ego? They're all the same things. I'm giving you the benefit as best I can of almost 40 years of working with the Course in Miracles and sharing it with people. I'm not someone who just picked this book up last year. The reason why I'm saying that is the Course in Miracles says that the purpose of a relationship is to save you time. So I'm only in your experience to save you time. And so if you would be open to what's coming through me and how long I've been working with this and working with people with this, I can show you a better and a quicker way to get what the Course in Miracles is saying. For instance, I want you to keep in mind that the Course in Miracles is only talking about thoughts of love and thoughts of fear. That's the only thing it says that we are experiencing. The only emotions and feelings that the Course in Miracles says that we have is love and fear. Fear takes many forms, love takes many forms, but it's basically only talking about love or fear. So the Course in Miracles says if you attack the God of sickness, you will make the God of sickness real to you. But if you refuse to worship the God of sickness, if you refuse to worship the ego, if you will refuse to worship your fears in whatever form he may appear to you, if you refuse to worship the God of sickness in whatever form the God of sickness may appear to you, wherever you think you see the God of sickness, then the God of sickness will disappear into the nothingness out of which the God of sickness was made. So in that paragraph, we just heard how you get rid of sickness, anxiety, unhappiness, fear, and guilt. He says you have to refuse to worship it. If you refuse to worship the ego, if you refuse to worship your fear, if you refuse to worship, what does that mean? Continue to attack it. Continue to focus all of your attention on it. Continue to obsess about the things that you're upset about, that you don't like, or any lack of peace that you are having. When you refuse to worship the ego, that's just another term for the ego, then if you would refuse to worship the illusion, if you will refuse to worship the world, if you will refuse to worship the ego, if you will refuse to worship sickness, wherever you think of it, wherever you see it, the Course in Miracles says what? The God of sickness will disappear. The God of sickness will disappear into the nothingness out of which the God out of which the god of sickness was made. So I'm not going to rush to the next paragraph. I'm not going to rush to the next paragraph. That's a trick of our ego. Every time we speed to the next paragraph without really hearing what each paragraph is saying. So what did we just hear? That there's no such thing as being sick and being perfect as God created you. If you believe you're sick, it's because you're placing other gods before God. You're placing other beliefs before the truth. You're placing other things before the truth and before love. But beating yourself up about that will only make it more real to you. Then the Course in Miracles said to us that God is not at war with the god of sickness that you've made. God is not concerned about all of the things that you've made in your life that's less than love. You are the one that's at war with the things that you've made. Then the Course in Miracles says that whenever you're sick, angry, and upset, it's just a symbol of deciding against love. You've decided against the truth. You've decided against God. So whenever you're sick, whenever you're upset, it just means that you are deciding against love. God is love, so I'm deciding against love. Okay, I am sick right now. I'm mad right now. I'm upset right now. All I'm really doing is deciding against God right now. I'm just deciding against the truth right now. I'm afraid of the god of sickness. I'm afraid of my ego. I'm afraid of my fear, because fear and sickness and the ego cannot be reconciled with God's will. God's will is that you have perfect happiness, and when you're not happy, it's hard to reconcile that with God's will, which is that you have perfect happiness. But if you attack him, if you attack your sickness, if you attack the thing that you think is upsetting you, then you're going to make it real to you. So one thing that people who are attempting to be spiritual, they tend to blame themselves and beat themselves up every time they're not perfectly loving, perfectly kind, perfectly giving. Then the Course in Miracles is saying that whenever you are attacking your ego, whenever you are attacking your anger or attacking yourself for being afraid, then it means that you're making it real to you. So how do you get past that? Well, it says, if you refuse to worship the god of sickness, if you refuse to worship the thing that you think you're upset about, if you refuse to just focus on it and worship it all the time, in whatever form that it seems to appear to you, or in whatever form you think of it, it will disappear into the nothingness out of which it was made. And Diana says, I refuse to worship the illusory, the temporary, the earthbound, the ego, the fear, and the sickness. That is exactly what you're supposed to do in order to have it disappear. Also, Kathy says, remember, beating yourself up about seeing yourself as sick is not helpful. So beating yourself up about what you think you're going through, beating yourself up whenever you think you're not being as loving and peaceful and kind as you think you should be, that just makes it real. Cheryl says, I am in this right now. I know I have chosen to worship this, but I now make the choice to side with love. That's right. I am not going to worship my fear. I'm not going to worship my fear. I'm going to side with love. So that is what we are focusing on right now. That's what we've been told right now. Then paragraph 2 in chapter 12, section 4, paragraph 2, the end of sickness. It says, how does reality dawn on you? How do you get in touch with the truth? It says reality can dawn only on an unclouded mind. So the truth can dawn only on an unclouded mind. So that means that reality is always there to be accepted. But reality's acceptance depends on your willingness to have reality. So your acceptance of love depends on your willingness to have love. Reality is love. Reality is truth. So your acceptance of the truth depends on your willingness to have the truth. So no one accepts the truth except somebody that's willing to have the truth. So how can you tell when you're ready to have love? How can you tell when you're ready to have truth? It says that its acceptance of it depends on your willingness to have it. Your acceptance of it depends on your willingness to have it. To know reality must involve the willingness to judge unreality for what it is. So to know the truth must involve the willingness to judge what's not true for what it is. I'm giving you substitutions for some of these words because they're the definitions that the Course in Miracles uses, because it'll make it easier to understand. You could also say to know love must involve the willingness to judge fear for what it is. To know reality must involve the willingness to judge unreality for what it is. To overlook nothingness is merely to judge it correctly. So when you get to the point that you overlook the ego, when you get to the point that you overlook the ego, when you overlook what's not true, then you're judging it correctly. Because of your ability to evaluate it truly is to let it go. So you're not going to let something go until you evaluate it truly. You are not evaluating it truly unless you judge it correctly. And you're not judging something correctly unless you overlook the nothingness of it, the nothingness of the ego. Knowledge cannot dawn on a mind full of illusions, which is the same as saying knowledge cannot dawn on a mind full of false ideas. The Course in Miracles defines illusions as false ideas. So to say this world is an illusion is basically to say this world is based on false ideas. So knowledge cannot dawn on your mind when your mind is full of illusions. The truth cannot dawn on your mind when your mind is full of fears. So when your mind is full of fears, that means that you are not aware of the truth. So there's no such thing as being full of fear and you know the truth. At the moment that you're full of fear, that is the moment that you're not aware of the truth. Because anybody that's aware of the truth, anyone that has knowledge, anyone that knows God, that's not someone that's afraid. That's not someone that has a mind full of fears. That's not someone that has a mind full of illusions. So knowledge cannot dawn on a mind full of fears. It's the same as saying knowledge cannot dawn on a mind full of illusions, because truth and illusions are irreconcilable. What's true and what's false, they are irreconcilable. So truth and illusions, love and fears are irreconcilable. So what does that mean? It means that truth is whole. So that means that the truth cannot be known by part of a mind. The truth cannot be known by part of a mind. Okay, so what did that second paragraph say? Well, the second paragraph told us that you cannot recognize the truth, and reality can only come to a mind that's unclouded by fear and illusions. The second paragraph told us that the truth and reality and love is always there, and you can accept the truth and reality and love any time you want to, because your acceptance of truth, your acceptance of love, your acceptance of reality depends on your willingness to have the truth and to have the love and to have the reality. And then it tells us that if you want to know reality, if you want to know love, it involves the willingness to judge what's not love for what it is. So to overlook nothingness is merely to judge it correctly. When you overlook the ego and you realize the ego is nothing, that the ego is not a reflection of the truth, then you have judged the ego, the illusion, the sickness correctly. And because of your ability to evaluate the truth, because of your ability to evaluate the illusion and the ego truly, which is to see that it's really nothing, that's how you let the ego go. That's how you let your fears go. You don't let the ego go by constantly analyzing it and battling with the idea and fighting with the idea. You let it go by recognizing that the ego cannot hurt you. Your illusions cannot hurt who you really are. That your false ideas could never really hurt who you really are. Then it tells us that you can't have knowledge. You cannot have knowledge. You cannot have love. You cannot have the truth when your mind is full of illusions, when your mind is full of false ideas. Because the truth and illusions are irreconcilable. Truth and fear are irreconcilable. Love and fear are irreconcilable. Then we were told that the truth is whole. That's the same as saying the truth is one. And you cannot know the truth with part of your mind. You cannot know true love with just a part of your mind. So just like Kathy is asking herself, ask yourself, what are you valuing? Are you valuing love or are you valuing fear right now? That's important. That's important to keep in mind. It's important to let yourself hear this. This is one of the more challenging sections. When I let the Holy Spirit choose the section that I would cover tonight, and I saw this section, I went, oh my God, this is going to be really, really, this can be a difficult section to teach, not because what it's saying is so complicated, but it can be a difficult section to teach because of the way that it's written, the way that it's talking about gods. So the sonship, which is the creation of God, cannot be perceived as partly sick, because to perceive God's creation as partly sick, to perceive it that way is not to perceive it at all. So if you see me as partially sick, then you're not seeing me at all. If I see you as partially sick, then I'm not seeing you at all. And if the sonship is one, the sonship is another term for the family of God. So the Course in Miracles says, if the sonship, which is the family of God, is one, it is one in all respects, which means that oneness cannot be divided. If we are one, then we cannot be divided. So it means if you perceive other gods, if you perceive anything other than oneness, if you perceive anything other than love, it means that your mind is split. So if you're seeing anything other than love, it means that your mind is split. It means that your mind is divided. If you perceive other gods other than God, if you perceive other gods, and what does the Course in Miracles call these other gods with a small g? It's anything that we worship, anything that we believe in other than love. He says, if you believe in anything or you perceive anything other than love, if you perceive other gods, your mind is split. And when your mind is split, it says you will not be able to limit the split. So why is it that you won't be able to limit the split in your mind if you see anything other than love? Because seeing anything other than love is a sign that you have removed part of your mind from God's will. So that means that a person that sees anything other than love is a person that has actually removed part of their mind from the will of God. So if I'm feeling a lot of fear and a lot of anger and a lot of upset or a lot of guilt or a lot of sickness, it just means that I have removed part of my mind from the will of love. I have removed part of my mind from God's will. So what does it mean to be out of control? Well, it says to say that you are out of control means that you have removed part of your mind from God's will. So from a Course in Miracles perspective, to be out of control means that you remove part of your mind from love. You have removed part of your mind from God's will. And the Course in Miracles says that God's will for you is perfect happiness. So whenever your mind is out of control, it means you have removed your mind from love. You have removed your mind from freedom. So every time you're upset, every time you are afraid, every time you feel separate, it just tell yourself, oh my God, I'm out of control right now. What does it mean to be out of control? Well, it means that I've removed part of my mind from God's will. What is God's will? Well, God's will for me is perfect happiness. So it means that I have split my mind between love and fear. That's all it means. Whenever you're upset, whenever you feel angry, whenever you feel afraid, it just means you're out of control. It says it means you removed part of your mind from God's will. So to be out of control means to be out of reason. So when you are out of reason, what does that mean? If I'm out of reason, see, when you're reading the Course in Miracles, if you'll notice, I'm just going through the paragraph, and I'm trying to show you that the Course in Miracles actually explains itself. For instance, it says, to be out of control is to be out of reason. Then if you go back, it says, to be out of control means that you removed part of your mind from God's will. Then if you remove part of your mind from God's will, he says you won't be able to limit the split. And if you perceive other gods, if you perceive anything other than love, your mind is split. And then before that, it says oneness cannot be divided. And it also says before that the family of God, the sonship, is one. And if the family of God is one in all respects. And then the line before that is the sonship cannot be perceived as partly sick. Because to perceive the family of God as partly sick is not to perceive it at all. One of the most astonishing things about the Course in Miracles is that it makes as much sense when you read it backwards as it does when you read it forward. If you will notice, I just read it backwards, and it still made total sense. To be out of control is to be out of reason, and then the mind does become unreasonable. In other words, by defining the mind wrongly, you perceive the mind as functioning wrongly because you're defining your mind wrongly. So you're perceiving your mind as functioning wrongly. So let me take a look at some of the comments that we have right now. Okay. The Mola says, we can only perceive the sonship as total or whole, or we are not perceiving it at all. That's true. Now, paragraph 4. This is hardcore Course in Miracles. I'm telling you, it is for those of us who really want to hear what it's saying and take advantage of my 38 years of working with this material. Your ego is going to try to do everything in its power to make the Course in Miracles complicated. It's going to do everything in its power to try to make you not hear it. The part of you, the part of your mind that thinks it's separate, the part of your mind that thinks it's separate, the part of your mind that thinks it's separate from God, is going to try to pretend that what the Course in Miracles is saying is something that's very difficult to understand. But it's not. Let's go to paragraph 4. It says, God's laws will keep your mind at peace because peace is God's will. And God's laws are established to uphold God's will. So when you are following the laws of love, when you're truly following the laws of love will keep your mind at peace. Because peace is what is the will of God. It's what is the will of love. And God's laws were established to uphold your peace. The laws of love were established to uphold your peace. So how can you tell when you're really following the laws of God? It says, well, it's because God's laws are the laws of freedom, but yours are the laws of bondage. So where is the Course in Miracles telling us that bondage comes from? The Course in Miracles is telling us that bondage comes from us, that we're the only ones that are putting ourselves in bondage in any way. It's never God, it's never love that's putting us in any kind of bondage. There's nothing about love that limits your freedom. There's nothing about love that keeps you in bondage. There's nothing about the laws of God that will keep you in bondage. There is nothing about the laws of God that will keep you limited. It says God's laws are the laws of freedom. So the Course in Miracles is saying the laws of love are the laws of freedom, but it's the laws we've made up that are the laws of bondage. Then it says, since freedom and bondage are irreconcilable, you cannot reconcile freedom and bondage. You are free or you are in bondage. There is no in between. You are free or you are totally limited. There is no in between. So their laws cannot be understood together. So the laws of freedom and the laws of bondage cannot be understood together. They don't connect any kind of way. The laws of God work only for your good. The laws of God work only for your good. So that means that the laws of love work only for your good. Whenever you are following love, it works only for your good. And there are no laws beside God's laws. So the Course in Miracles is saying, you know what, fella, you know what, the laws of God work only for your good. The laws of love only work for your good. The laws of truth only work for your good. And there are no other laws beside the laws of truth. There are no other laws except the laws of God. There are no other rules. The Course in Miracles uses the term rules as another way of saying laws. So the rules of God, which is the rules of love, work only for your good. And there are no other rules than God's rules. There are no other laws but God's laws. So anything beside God's laws, the Course in Miracles says everything else, everything beside the laws of God is merely lawless and therefore chaotic. So anything that is not part of the laws of God is chaotic. So wherever you see chaos, it's where you are not seeing the laws of love at work. So does that mean that if we see a lot of chaos in the world, it's because the world is not operating according to the laws of God? Does that mean that wherever you see chaos in your life is where you're not operating according to the laws of love and God? That's exactly what it means. Whenever a person is experiencing nothing but chaos and fear in their life, then it means that they are not living and acting according to the laws of God, the laws of truth. Yet God himself has protected everything he created by his laws. So love itself has protected everything it created by its laws. Everything that is not under the laws of God does not exist. Everything that is not under the laws of love do not exist. So why is it in this world that nothing seems to last? Why is it in this world that everything seems to be temporary? Well, it says, everything that is not under the laws of God doesn't exist. Anything that's not under the laws of love cannot last. So if you're in a relationship and that relationship is not based on true love, that relationship is not going to last. If you're in any situation that is not rooted in love, by definition, that situation, circumstance is not going to last. Nothing lasts that's not based on the laws or the rules of God, which is the rules of love. The next sentence says, laws of chaos is a meaningless term. Creation is perfectly lawful, and the chaotic is without meaning, because whatever is chaotic is without God, which is the same as saying whatever is chaotic is without love. So wherever there is chaos, there is no love happening where there is chaos. I'll say it again. Follow along with me. I'm in paragraph 4. It says creation is perfectly lawful. And the Course in Miracles defines creation as extension, the extension of love. So creation is another term for the extension of love. And so the Course in Miracles says creation, which is the extension of love, is perfectly lawful. And the chaotic is without meaning, because the chaotic is without God. The chaotic is without love. Remember, the Course in Miracles is only talking about what? Love or fear. Don't let your mind complicate it. That's why I'm doing it this way. I'm showing you other ways to read the Course that makes it a lot easier to understand what it's saying. So creation is perfectly lawful. You could say love is perfectly lawful. And the chaotic, which would be the fearful, is without meaning, because it is without love, which is without God. Creation is perfectly lawful. What's chaotic is without meaning, because what's chaotic is without God. Now, so the Course in Miracles says, let me tell you guys and gals what you all have done. You've given your peace to the gods that you made. You're giving your peace to the fears and illusions that you have made. But the thing that you have given your peace to, those things are not there to take it from you, and you cannot give it to them. So everybody's upset because they've given their peace to the gods that they've made. And anything that you put before God, anything you put before your peace, is your idol. That is your false god. So if you've given so whatever it is that is upsetting you, that is your God. That is the thing that you've given your peace away because of. And whatever and whoever you give your peace away because of, that is your God. That is your idol. But that person and that situation could not take your peace away from you. You are the one that gave your peace away because of them or it. So I want you to hear that. You have given your peace to the gods you made, but they, the gods you made, are not there to take your peace from you. You've given your peace to them. You are upset, you are sick, you are mad. You've given your peace to that situation. You've given your peace away to that situation. You've given your peace away to that circumstance that you're upset about right now. I'm looking for the comments that are related to what we are talking about. Okay, Diana says chaos is meaningless. Demola says creation equals extension of love. That's exactly right. God is love, and God equals the extension of self. Tracy says we're talking about love or fear. Alita says we're talking about love or fear, love or fear, love or fear. Those are the only two choices. So let's go to paragraph 5. You are not free to give up freedom. The Course in Miracles says over and over again, read me slowly. Do this slowly. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to demonstrate by doing the Course in Miracles the way the Course in Miracles says to do the Course in Miracles. And it said do it slowly, because slowly keeps the ego from being able to take over. The ego loves to move fast because it doesn't give the ideas an opportunity to sink in. You are not free to give up freedom. You are not free to give up freedom, but only to deny your freedom. You're still free even if you are denying it. You are still free even if it doesn't seem like it, because you're not free to give up your freedom. You don't have the power to give up your freedom. You don't have any freedom to give up your freedom. You don't have the freedom to give up your freedom. You just have the freedom to deny that you are free. Now, you're free to deny that you are free, but you can't give up your freedom. You are free whether you think you are free or not. You're not free to give up your freedom. You're just free to deny your freedom. You cannot do what God did not intend. What is it that God did not intend? Well, he said God did not intend for you to give up your freedom. So you cannot do what God did not intend. It's the same as saying you are free. It's the same as saying you are not free to give up your freedom. You can't do what God didn't intend, and God did not intend for you to give your freedom up. So you are still free, no matter what the situation or circumstance is that you think you're in right now. You're still free, but you can deny that you are free. You cannot do what God did not intend, because what God did not intend doesn't happen. So you cannot do anything that God does not intend you to do. There's nothing you can do that God does not intend that you do. And anything that you do that God did not intend you to do, it never lasts. Every time you do something that's not what God intends, it never lasts. That's how you can tell the difference between something that God has created and something that you've made. Anything that you make is temporary. Anything that God creates is permanent, eternal, and lasts forever. Love lasts forever. Fear is temporary. So you cannot do what God did not intend, because whatever God didn't intend is never going to happen. And anything that God doesn't intend is never going to last. Your gods, your illusions, your fears do not bring chaos. You are endowing your gods, your fears, your false beliefs with chaos, and then you are accepted it of them. All this has never been. All the things that you're making up that makes any kind of fear in any way has never been. That's because nothing but the laws of God have ever been. There's nothing but the laws of love have ever been, and nothing but God's will ever be. There will never be anything but the will of love. So what is the Course doing? What the Course in Miracles is doing all the way through the book is it's teaching us the difference between what's true and what's false. If you notice, when you go through the Course in Miracles, it always tells you what God or love does, and then it turns right around and tells you what the ego or fears or what is not true does. It says, this is what love does, this is what God does, this is what the ego does, this is what fear does. It's trying to teach us the difference between love and fear, truth and illusion, what's real and what's not real. Because the Course teaches that if you know the difference between what's real and what's not, then you will choose for what is real. But it claims that we don't really know what the difference is between love and fear, that we don't really know the difference between what's real and what's not. So it continues all the way through the material to tell us the difference between the two. So it's not hard. Just think of it this way. The Holy Spirit, my higher self, my higher power, is trying to teach me how to recognize what's true and to be able to discern what's true and what's not true. The Course in Miracles is trying to teach me how to tell the difference between fear and love, so that I will recognize fear and go the other way, and recognize love and go towards it. The problem is the average person thinks they know what love is, and the average person doesn't even recognize what fear really is. And so the Course in Miracles is teaching us the difference between the two. And so we miss the obvious because our ego, our old programming, has taught us that life is complex, that everything is complex, that we're separate from each other, that we're victims of the world we see, that we need to worship the sickness and the anger and the upsets that we think are real. And the Course in Miracles is saying to you, right there in the middle of the paragraph, it says what? Nothing but the laws of God has ever been, and nothing but God's will ever be. You were created through God's laws. You were created by God's will, and the manner of your creation established you as a creator. So you were created and you are a creator. You were created and you are a creator. Your creation established you a creator. You are a creator. Now, what you have made is so unworthy of you that you could hardly want it. If you were willing to see what you have made as it is, you really wouldn't want it. The Course in Miracles says, you guys have been making stuff that's so unworthy of you. You have been making fear. And if you really realize that all you've been doing is making fear, then you would not want it. If you could see that you are only making fear, if you could see that you're only making some form of fear whenever you do anything separate from God, he says you wouldn't want it if you were willing to see it as it is. So the Course in Miracles is really trying to get us to see the things that we are making out of fear. Because if we were to recognize that we are making fear for ourselves, then we would no longer want the fear. As a matter of fact, if you are willing to see what you've made as it is, the Course in Miracles says you will see nothing at all. So when you're willing to see what you have made as the nothingness that it is, you will be seeing nothing at all, and your vision will automatically look beyond it to what really is in you and all around you. In other words, reality can't break through the obstructions that you interpose. The truth and the love cannot break through the blocks that you interpose. The truth and love and God and happiness cannot break through the obstructions you interpose. But reality, which is God, which is truth, which is love, it will envelop you completely when you let your blocks go, when you let your obstructions go, when you let your false beliefs go. Then reality, which is love, which is God, which is truth, will envelop you completely. Diana says it's about discerning the difference between fear and love. Kathy says she agreed with something that Lisa said. Elaine says the world systems do not operate in the laws of God. Elaine, that is exactly right. If we were to ever really get that the world is operating according to the laws of the ego, which are the laws of fear, if we were to get that the laws of the world and the rules of the world, those rules only make us afraid, then we would be moving in the right direction. Diana says, God grant me the serenity to know the difference. Kathy says, I am a creation of God. I'm eternal in nature. Tracy says, I was created and I am a creator. Alita says, let my eyes be opened. Look beyond the veil. Welcome, CJ. Good to see you coming online. Creator God created me to be a creator, but I've created junk. Thank you. That is exactly right. I love that. Elaine says, living in our truth is wholeness. Lisa says, let my false beliefs and all idols go. And idols are false beliefs. When the Course in Miracles uses the term idols, it's just talking about false beliefs. Remember, an idol is anything that you put before your peace. An idol is anybody you put before your peace. Tracy says it's about letting go. And the leader says, I am under no laws but God. And I am under no laws but God's is the same as saying, I am under no laws but love. So are we ready to go to paragraph 6? This is Hardcore Course in Miracles. This is classes for people who want to go through the Course in Miracles, want to hear the Course in Miracles, and want to get a deeper understanding of the Course in Miracles. Paragraph 6 says, when you have experienced the protection of God, when you have experienced the protection of love, the making of idols becomes inconceivable. So let me show you the simplicity again. When you have experienced the protection of love, the making of fears becomes inconceivable. So once you experience the protection of love, then you will find that being afraid will become something that's inconceivable to you. The once you are truly operating under the laws of God, which is the laws of love, you can tell because it will become inconceivable to you to be afraid. So what does that mean then? It means that when a person is afraid, that they are not experiencing the protection of God in their perception. When a person is afraid, they're not experiencing the protection of love. And when you are not experiencing the protection of love, then you make fears or idols for yourself. So the making of idols becomes inconceivable when you have experienced the protection of God. There are no strange images in the mind of God. If you notice, the Course in Miracles is telling you what's going on within the mind of love, which is the mind of God. In a mind of love, there are no strange images. In a mind of God, there are no fearful images. And what is not in God's mind cannot be in your mind. Why is it that what's not in love's mind cannot be in your mind? Because you are one man with God. You are one man with love. And that one man belongs to God. And that one man belongs to love. God's one mind of love is yours. Because God's one mind of love, your one mind of love, belongs to God. And to God, ownership is sharing. So if you want to own something, to love, ownership is sharing. Remember, you can always substitute the word love or the word truth wherever you see God, and it will give you a clearer meaning of what it's saying. I'll say that again. To him, ownership is sharing. So to God, to love, ownership is sharing. So if I really want to have you, I need to share you. Anything that I really want to own or possess is something that I need to share. So if I want to own the truth, if I want to possess the truth, if I want to possess love, if I want to own love, then I have to share it. You cannot truly have anything you don't share. You cannot truly have anything you don't share. Notice that we are in a world where people tend to not share a lot. And people tend to keep things to themselves and not share it. Have you also noticed that we're in a world where nothing lasts? And the reason why we're in a world that nothing lasts is because we're in a world where people tend not to share. Because it's only through sharing, which is what love is, that you can really only have anything by sharing it. I can only have love by sharing love. I can only have love by sharing love. I can only have you by sharing you. Sharing you is freeing you. To share you is to free you. To free you is to share you. So sharing someone is just freeing someone. So it says, and if it is so for him, it is so for you. So if it's true for God, it's true for you. His definitions are his laws, for by them He established the universe as what it is. Love's definitions are love's laws, for by love's definitions, love established the universe as what the universe is, which means no false gods, no false beliefs you attempt to interpose between yourself and your reality can affect the truth at all. That's another way of saying none of your false beliefs that you try to put between yourself and God, between yourself and love, affect the truth at all. What does that mean? None of your false beliefs, none of your fears, none of your guilt, none of your upsets, none of your false ideas, nothing that you think you've done really affects the truth at all. There's nothing you've ever done that really affects the truth. There's nothing you've ever done that truly affects reality. There's nothing that you can do that can affect the truth at all. There is nothing that you can do. There is nothing that you've ever done, I don't care what you've done, that can really affect the truth, that can really affect God, and that can really affect love. If I truly love you, and if you truly love me, then there's nothing that you believe that's going to affect my love. If there's nothing you can do to change a real love. Real love never changes. It just grows and expands. Real love growing and expanding is not love changing, because love was made and created to grow and to expand. So when love grows, when love expands, it's just doing what love was created to do. So love doesn't change, it just grows. And love is never affected by any of your gods, any of your beliefs. Your ego doesn't affect God. Your ego doesn't affect love. Your ego has no effect on the truth at all. So lighten up. Lighten up. None of your ego thoughts, none of your fears, none of your guilts, none of your upsets, none of your sickness, none of that is affecting your true self. None of that is affecting God. None of that is affecting love. And peace is yours. So why is peace yours? The Course in Miracles says peace is yours because love created you. Peace is yours because God created you. And he created nothing else. Love created nothing else. God created nothing else. Peace is yours because God has never created anything but peace, and God has not ever created anything but you. So I'm going to put this in another way. You are guaranteed to have peace. You are totally guaranteed to have peace because God created you, and God didn't create anything but you. Love created you, and love didn't create anything but you. You are guaranteed to be peaceful one day. You're guaranteed to know total fulfillment. The Course in Miracles defines peace as total fulfillment. So another term for peace is total fulfillment. Total fulfillment. Peace is yours because God created you, and God created nothing else. So peace is yours because God created you, and God created nothing else. Peace is yours because God created you, and God created nothing else. And I'll say this again. There are no false gods that you attempt to interpose between yourself and your reality that can affect the truth at all. So take that thought away with you. All of your worries, all of your criticisms, all of your upset, everything that you believe, every false idea you've ever had, none of it can affect truth at all. I repeat, no false gods you attempt to interpose between yourself and reality affect the truth at all. So we're going to stop. I'm going to take this time and we're going to review this and wrap this up, and here's some of the main points about this particular section. We have some good stuff to integrate. Take a breath. That was very powerful. I'm Earl Purdy. I'm a full-time teacher of A Course in Miracles. I've been doing it for almost 30 years, and I love teaching this. This is my mission on earth. This is why I am here. If you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation to support my teaching ministry, I truly appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. and you go to Earl Purdy, PURDY.com. That allows me to continue to do what I'm doing with your support and with the support of God, and to reach out to more and more people. I'm available for 101 sessions called Clarity Sessions, where I help you remove every block that you have to knowing that you are a creator, you are powerful, and how you can get rid of the blocks to allow you to have the kind of fulfillment that you deserve to have. I also use my knowledge of astrology and numerology, which in its highest sense is an incredible way of getting information about your purpose, your lessons, your talents, how you can unfold in your experience, your divine plan. That's all part of putting God first and putting love first. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and it explains the services that I offer. I have hundreds of videos on my website of my classes that you can watch. And also there are hundreds of videos on my Earl Purdy page. I love that you're here. I do 3 Facebook Live classes a week. Every Thursday at 7 p.m., I do Hardcore Course in Miracles at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. On Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I do another Course in Miracles class. And on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., I do The Way of Mastery, which is another very deep and penetrating truth class. Go to www.earlpurdy.com. To watch the live broadcast or the videos, go to www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. Or just go to the Earl Purdy page. And you don't have to be a member of Facebook to watch my classes if you go to that link. Go to my website, share the videos, like the page, follow the page. I need your help in extending this teaching ministry of love and the Course in Miracles. I cannot do it by myself. I cannot do anything by myself. The Course in Miracles taught me that is the biggest mistake that we ever make, is that we try to do things alone instead of joining each other. So I am asking for you to share the video to make people aware of these classes. Thank you for doing that. I love you and I appreciate you. So let's do a quick review of what we heard in tonight's gathering. The first thing that we heard was that that it's impossible to reconcile sickness and perfection. You were created perfect. So that means if you believe that you are sick, it means you placed other beliefs before the beliefs of the truth. So whenever you are sick, whenever you're unhappy, we heard tonight that that's a symbol of deciding against the truth. That's you deciding against God. So how do you get rid of sickness? How do you get rid of upset? We were told that if you attack it, if you attack your ego all the time, if you treat your fears or your upset or your sickness and you judge it and you put yourself down for feeling it, then you are attacking it. And the Course says when you attack the God of sickness, you make it even more real to you. But the way you let it go is you refuse to worship it in whatever form it may appear to you. You let yourself feel your feelings. You let yourself have the experience, but you don't beat yourself up for having an ego. You don't beat yourself up for being afraid or getting angry or getting sick. And if you don't beat yourself up about it, if you don't attack it, the Course in Miracles says it's going to disappear into nothingness out of your mind. Then another thing that the Course in Miracles said tonight was that If you're going to finally know love, if you're going to finally know reality, then you must be willing to judge what's not reality for what it is. So the Course in Miracles is going to teach you the difference between what's real and what's not real. Because it says that if you can understand that your fear isn't real, your fear isn't permanent, your sickness isn't permanent, that any form of upset is not permanent, that's the same as saying it's unreal. Then when you evaluate it as unreal, then you will be able to let it go. We were also told that true knowledge can never dawn on a mind full of fears, that true love can never dawn on a mind full of illusions. So you have to allow yourself to let go of the fears, the illusions, the false ideas, the anger, the grievances, if you want to have knowledge, if you really want to know what love is. Another thing we heard tonight was that whenever you perceive anything other than love in your life, whenever you're perceiving anything other than love in your life, that it means that your mind is split between love and fear. So whenever your mind is not experiencing love, whenever you're not experiencing love, the Course in Miracles told us that that was a sign that you have removed part of your mind from the will of God, that you removed part of your mind from the will of love. And whenever you remove your mind from love, the Course says that that means that your mind is out of control. And whenever your mind is out of control, it says that you are out of reason. And when you are out of reason, that's when you start to be unreasonable. And another thing the Course in Miracles told us was that if you are really operating according to the laws of God, you will know it. Because when you are really obeying the truth, when you are really following the truth, then it will keep your mind at peace, because peace is the will of God. So when you're following the will of love, when you're really following the truth, you will know it because you will be in peace. Another thing the Course in Miracles told us tonight was that the laws of God, the laws of love, are the laws of freedom. The laws of love are the laws of freedom. But our laws are the laws of bondage. Our laws are the laws of limit. And the Course in Miracles says the laws of God only work for your good. When you're following the laws of God, when you're following the laws of love, they work only for your good, and that there are no other laws, there are no other rules beside the laws of God. There are no other rules other than the rules of God. The Course also told us tonight that you are not free to give up your freedom. You're not free to give up your freedom. You can deny your freedom, but you can't give your freedom up, because you can't do what God didn't intend, and God didn't intend that you be anything but free. So I don't care how much you try to put yourself in bondage. It doesn't matter how much you try to limit yourself. It is not going to work, because peace and freedom is the will of God, and there's nothing you can do to block God's will. The Course in Miracles also told us that if we would be willing to look at the fears that we've made and the beliefs that we've made, we would not even want them, because we would be willing to see that it's nothing, and that it's nothing at all. And then he said you would see the love beyond that. And it also told us something else very powerful tonight. It told us that love is ownership, and ownership is sharing. So if you really want to own something, if there's a part of you that really wants to possess something or possess somebody, then it says ownership is sharing. So I can't own you unless I share you. I can't own you unless I free you. I can't own you unless I don't limit you. So ownership is sharing. To love, ownership is sharing. Love is sharing. And then it tells us that if it's true for God, it's true for you. If it's true for love, it's true for you. And then one of the main points that it made tonight that I love most of all in Hardcore Course in Miracles is that it said, no false gods you attempt to interpose between yourself and your reality affect truth at all. So that means your ego does not affect the truth at all. None of your false beliefs about yourself, insecurities, fears, or jealousies affect the truth that you are loved and that you are free at all. There's nothing you can do to lose God's eternal love. There's nothing you can truly do to limit yourself, no matter how many false ideas, no matter how much false belief you put in your mind. It will never affect the truth of you at all. So the end of sickness is the end of the worshiping of the ego and false beliefs. Whew, gotta let that integrate. You all have been awesome. The way you've been communicating with me, the way you've been communicating with each other. I always take time to read all the comments and to receive what you've shared. You all are incredible. You all are beautiful. You all are powerful. And I love you, and I'm so glad that you came and you joined each other and you shut out such good communication to each other and to me. I appreciate you. I love you. And may the course be with you. Mwah.